Ladies and gentlemen, their bad news has just been announced by China, and the trade war has suddenly ticked up to a certain level that I think we all need to be concerned with. So let's just watch on as I give more announcement about the entire trade war and its implication to the stock market. Let's go. So it's very sian that right now we have got more bad news. It just came out in the trade war arena, and they all have implication to a stock market. In fact, the stock market is already reacting negatively. But what just happened? Let's watch. So before we go on, let me give you a special invitation. I'm right now in my JB house tonight, and there are a lot of you that request for me to do a show house. And tonight I'll do a one-time show house for you all in a live stream. So you can ask me questions about my Johor Bahru, house, how I live my life and things like that between Singapore, Malaysia, and rest of the world. And I'll show you how interesting it is to live in a very nice place at a very low cost. So join me tonight. So hit subscribe so that you don't miss it. I haven't fixed up the time yet, so make sure you hit the notification bell so that when I go live, you'll get to see it. Okay. So remember, hit subscribe. Today I will cover a few topics. Number one is China's latest threat to the rest of the world and its impact economically and also the stock market. And there are some progress in the tariff negotiation between US and rest of the world. What does it look like? I also give an analysis of it. There's some stock market response that just happened. I think we should already take note of it. So what should we do? And also give a special warning on TLT as well. So hit subscribe because all these things are unfolding in real time. You don't want to miss all this. Disclaimer, this video is not to tell you to buy or sell. It's not financial advice. Let's go. So there is an African saying that says this: when elephant fights, it is the grass that suffers. When elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. So right now we have got US and China when they fight. Initially, we all like to say that we can stay one side, but unfortunately, when they fight, they forces us to choose sides, and they also trample over us in the unfortunate unfortunate process, and we all kena. Let's see what I mean by that. So China has just issued a warning today. China has warned countries against teaming up with Donald Trump. And if the trade deals between Donald Trump and the country hurts China interests, Beijing will retaliate. Warning has been issued. So Beijing warns countries against colluding with US to restrict trade with China. And what specifically, what do we mean by colluding? What is pakat, right? We call it pakat is the Malay word, or Hokkien, I also don't know. Okay, pakat with US, and then you hit China, China will slap you back. So Beijing has warned its trading partners against succumbing to US pressure to isolate China in Donald Trump's tariff war as part of a carrot and stick approach to win over countries caught between the world's two largest economies. Commenting on the recent media reports about Trump's administration plans to pressure countries into restricting trade with China in exchange for exemption from US tariff, a spokesman from China said, appeasement does not bring peace and compromise does not earn respect. So seeking temporary self-interest at the expense of others in exchange for so-called exemption is like asking for a tiger for its skin. In the end, it will achieve nothing and harm both others and oneself. Basically, it says this: if you, in attempt to save your own skin, okay, hurt my interests, okay, I will do something with you, right? So don't try to do it. Now, specifically, what do you mean by this? This one all speak at a very high level. I'll give you an example. So the Wall Street Journal reported last week that Trump's administration planned to use ongoing tariff negotiation to pressure US trading partners to limit their dealings with China, citing unnamed sources with knowledge of conversation. So the idea is, number one, okay, these countries must commit to US that you will isolate Chinese economy in a few ways. Number one, you do not allow China to ship goods through your country. Number two, don't allow Chinese companies to set up firms in your country to avoid these tariffs. And number three, don't allow cheap Chinese goods into your economy. This one will hit a lot of countries. Vietnam will kena jalat, Malaysia, and to some extent, maybe even Singapore. So to give an example, Vietnam, facing Trump's tariff, Vietnam eyes crackdown on some Chinese trade. Now take note, these are Chinese trucks. Can you see Chinese names? These are some Chinese 公司, Chinese companies. They are seen waiting to cross the border at Vietnam-China border. So a lot of goods are actually just passing by, right? Passing by from China to Vietnam. In a hope to avoid punishing US tariff, Vietnam is preparing to crack down on Chinese goods being shipped to US via its territory and will tighten controls by sensitive exports to China. A person familiar with the matter and a government document seen by Reuters. So this matter was first raised by Peter Navarro, which is US trade advisor, raised concern about Chinese goods being sent to America with made in Vietnam labels. So these Chinese goods actually were manufactured in China. They went through the borders between Vietnam and China and cut through and then ship out. Basically change the label from made in China to now made in Vietnam and then just ship out. I don't even think that the label change happened in Vietnam. So the Chinese goods were already made with the word made in Vietnam and then just go out that way. So it bypass all the restrictions, right? So Vietnam has been in weeks trying to offer sweeteners to hope to persuade Donald Trump that in view of his huge trade surplus with America, to be nicer to them. Instead, it was hit with a 46% tariff as part of Trump's liberation salvo. While the tariff has now been suspended for 90 days, two countries agreed to start talks after a Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister met with US Trade Representative on Wednesday. Export-reliant Vietnam is hoping to get the tariffs reduced to a range of 22 to 28% instead of 46%, okay? And, this is what the situation is. So now Vietnam, bo pian, right, has to now kowtow to US and say that, okay, I will restrict Chinese export through us. So China, of course, not happy, right? So now it cannot caught. When elephant fights, is the grass that get stamped on. Since Trump's first term, many multinational firms has implemented a China +1 policy of setting up factories in Vietnam to reduce exposure to Beijing. So these countries basically, instead of having a production plant in China only, now have also set up one in Vietnam, in a hope to manage some of these risks. And guess what? This is now having issue. If you look at this slide, it basically shows the China-Vietnam-US trade. Clearly, if you look at the bar, you have got the blue bar, which is US import from Vietnam has increased phenomenally from $46 billion in 2017 all the way to 3 times in 2024. The interesting thing is Vietnam import from China also increased from $58 billion all the way 3 times or so to $144 billion. Clearly, a lot of Chinese goods, went through Vietnam and go out to US. So this one is clear until cannot clear. Of course, this one will invite a lot of scrutiny from US and also a lot of unhappiness from China if Vietnam were to collude with US and fight China in this way. The US official has alleged that China used Vietnam as a conduit to obtain lower tariffs for goods that do not have significant Vietnamese involvement. China used Vietnam as a transshipment to avoid tariffs. Now, and that is, to be frank, actually true, right? So I know of a big multinational electronic company that actually does that, what we call a China +1 manufacturing. And it's very common, okay? Now, a lot of people say, don't worry, a lot of countries, are now trading with China. And even if US were to cut off the trade with China, it's still okay. Well, let's take a look, shall we? So these are the top 10 trading partners of China. Surprisingly, ASEAN ranked number 1 collectively as a trading bloc. EU ranked number 2 and United States ranked number 3. So it's okay, right? So United States is ranked number 3, and you got South Korea, Japan, all these. So if you look at all these things collectively, top trading partners of China, US is high, but is not phenomenally high, okay? But if you look at the top export destination for China, it ranks number 1. US at 14.7%. A lot of you all said, Mr. Lu, 14.7%, not a big deal. But if you peel the onion and take a look, this is total export going to United States, okay, from China. Yes, about 15%. But it goes to Hong Kong, 8.1%. And when it goes to Hong Kong, where does Hong Kong go to? There must be a third country, right? I bet a lot of them goes through Hong Kong to China as well. But if you have Vietnam, right, 4.5%, right, very high as well. Vietnam can absorb so much goods from China. Again, right, transshipment, right? So if you sum up all this, I think these are big numbers. Now, if you look at Japan, Korea, and all this, these are Chinese goods that go into Japan. Some of it is consumed by Japan, but a lot of them manufacture and value adds the goods that come into Japan from China, and then make something else and go to US as well. So this goes on and on and on, and as a result, I think that China collectively go in manufacture a hell of things into US. So China will be hit very badly for sure. What's the progress of the negotiation between US and the rest of the world? Let's just take a look at the top trading partners, shall we? So Japan kicked off negotiation with US last week when the top tariff negotiator met with US president. So they just kicked off, okay? And then South Korea acting president said his country will begin trade talks with US later this week. Again, about to start. J.D. Vance expected to meet India Prime Minister Modi during a visit this week and haven't started yet. And last week, Vice President Vance said that there is a good chance a trade deal could be reached with the UK. We're working very hard with the Stammer government. So again, nothing yet. So all talks right now. And I was told again and again and again, big country negotiation take forever, right? Many months, if not years. And to hope that all this can be achieved in 90 days, I don't think so. Of course, Trump may suddenly say, oh, don't worry, all are okay right now, right? I don't know. Those kind of things happen because he flip-flop a lot. So as a sign of, right now, trade war actually are hurting trade, Boeing jet returns to US from China. This is a Xiamen aircraft that is supposed to arrive in China. No, they are not taking stock anymore. Go back, right? So it's now arrived at Seattle Boeing field. A US Boeing jet intended for use by a Chinese airline landed back in the plane maker US production hub in a victim of tit-for-tat bilateral trade. So things are not doing well on the trade front. And as a result, we see today the futures market already start showing an LS scenario. So right now, the S&P 500 has gone down by 1% and the Nasdaq has gone down by 1% as well. Early signs, don't know what will happen. Many times it go up and down from negative to positive to negative. We just can't tell. So the situation doesn't look very optimistic, and I'll give you my view later on what we should do and things like that. But let's just now switch to a next gossip, shall we, on the GE front. So on the GE front, right, I just want to say this, a week plus ago or 2 weeks ago, we have got PSP, Leong Man Wai and Tan Cheng Bock basically said that, the PAP tariff fear is overblown. Government is issuing warning, all this just to instill fear. But suddenly, Dr. Tan Cheng Bock make a dramatic U-turn and basically say this, right? He suddenly said that, hey, it's actually very serious, right? this trade war is actually very serious. It's a very difficult problem, and then a very serious problem we are not taking lightly. He's make a dramatic U-turn. He suddenly realized that this trade war is very serious. He said, we need a lot of good people to deal with this matter, as if his party got a lot of good people. I don't know, man. The party is only maybe 2 or 3 leaders, and the rest, I don't think even can make it, right? So he himself is a medical doctor, not economist. I don't think he know how to deal with this matter. He himself actually said that, he passed this analysis of this problem to Leong Man Wai and things like that. He's a medical doctor, don't know much of this thing. So I think that, this is a dramatic U-turn. So I don't see them knowing what to do about this thing. So I think we got to be careful. To be fair, I actually give more respect to Workers' Party who actually take this issue more seriously. So I will just say this GE 2025 is going to determine how we fight the threat that's coming, facing us right now in this tariff war. So going back to the whole analysis of what's happening between China and US, I think the trade war negotiation are unlikely to have any results soon. Unlikely. And China playing hardball is actually not good for the world trade. We as small little countries are now forced to choose sides. And it's very painful to choose sides. Singapore also have a China plus one companies in Singapore. I would just say, you think of TikTok headquarters in Singapore, you think of Shein. Shein, the companies also have a lot of operations in Singapore as well. There are much more, right? I don't think US is likely to cave in soon, because if they cave in, then the rest of countries are negotiating with US would play hardball as well, right? So I would be doing this thing for a lot of you. I'm going to pull in a lot more experts in interviews. Some will be videos, some will live stream as much as I can. So do hit subscribe so that you don't miss all these experts. I'll give you a hint, okay? One of them is our all-time favorite, Christopher Tan from Providence. He's coming to our channel as well. We're going to have a session with him. So don't miss this one. His view is really an expert view. And he's also bringing another expert from his company as well. So I'll take my time. I don't think there's a need to rush. If we miss this, it's only 10% decline, not that big a deal. And I would like to issue right now a warning. A lot of people just follow blindly to with Mr. Lu, despite me giving warning on TLT. I just need to say this. The US dollar is declining. The TLT represents US Treasury. US Treasury has a risk of being sold down. So I think there's a lot of risk for those people who think that, you invest in this, just follow Mr. Lu blindly and you make money. I have a strategy. I don't know you know what my strategy is. So I'll be very cautious of y'all and give special warning. Don't follow me blindly. Okay. So hit subscribe as I follow. I will explain some of these positions I'm taking and what my analysis is, so that you won't miss some of these things when you hit subscribe. So with this, thank you, and I'll see you tonight in the tour of my Malaysia house in a live stream. Okay, I'll see you tonight. Bye bye.